Today we're going to be jumping into some things that new players and returning players should definitely be aware of when jumping into Final Fantasy XIV. As always, some of the best tips are going to be in the comments left by veteran players of this amazing community. So be sure to read through the comments below and upvote your favorite tips. The first tip is going to save you a lot of money on the auction house if you're not familiar with it yet. And that is when you hover over an item, whether it's in the auction house, in your inventory, or anywhere else in the game, when you hover over it, it's going to tell you the shop selling price if there is one. Now this one says shop selling price 216 gil. What that means is I could buy this item from an NPC somewhere for 216 gil. So if someone is listing it on the auction house for 5,000 gil or 100,000 gil, I'll know, hey, wait a second, I could go buy this myself for 216 and save a ton of cash. So if you see a shop selling price on an item, that means there's an NPC somewhere selling it. Next to this item, it says in parentheses, restricted. What that means is that NPC is locked behind a quest. So you've just got to go do a quest somewhere and then that NPC will become available. Below that, it says sells for 1 gil. That's just what it would sell for if you sold it to an NPC. The important bit is shop selling price. It'll tell you if none, like for instance, this item right here, it says it's a crafting material, shop selling price none. That means it is not sold on any shops in the game. You'll either have to find the item yourself or you'll have to buy it off of another player on the auction house if you want it. If you're in combat and the enemy's cast bar is a flashing red bar, that means you can use the silence like interject or head gaze to interrupt that ability. Whereas stun abilities can interrupt both yellow and red cast bars. Usually, if you can interrupt something, it's a really good idea to do so, especially if you're the tank. So for instance, if we look at this interject ability right here, and you look at the text right there, it says interrupts the use of a target's action. So it'll tell you if the ability is an interrupt. You won't have to wonder. The next thing to be aware of as you're progressing through the game and upgrading your gear score. So for instance, this character right now has a gear score of 252. And if we switch over to the Dark Knight here has a gear score of 610. So one of the primary goals of this game is going to be to raise the item level. Right now, this character's item level is 610. And the way that we upgrade our item level is through group content, right? We're going to run the content and then there's going to be chests or there's going to be drops from bosses. And those items could be gear upgrades for our character. Alternatively, what you could do is you could collect your tomestones of poetics from your duty menu. You'll notice if you click on here, it says that it's going to give you Allagan Tomestone of Poetics, right? So you can do this every day and get your tomestones, and then you can use those to buy your best in slot gear from the highest expansion that you have access to at the time. Now, the thing to be aware of is if you're 50 and you have a couple pieces of gear that are, you know, maybe a little behind, it's okay. You can keep progressing through the MSQ and you will get rewarded with items that are going to be much better for you. Basically, the way the game works is when you're level 52 getting gear, it's going to almost immediately be better than the gear that you got at 48, right? So higher level gear is almost always going to be an upgrade over the lower level gear that you got. And so stressing to make sure you've got all the best pieces of gear that you can get at level 48 isn't really an issue. Just keep pushing through the main story quest, keep getting gear upgrades, and then every 10 levels or so, use your Tombstone of Poetics to buy the pieces that fell behind. If you get to level 60 and you notice that, oh man, I never got a pants upgrade, then you can go ahead and pick up a pair of pants off the Poetics vendor. Now, one of the best things about Final Fantasy XIV is that every time you log into the game, you always know what you need to do next because it's always up here in the top left corner, right? You've either got to do the main story quest, or if there's text below the main story quest, like this one says behind door number 2, that's your job quest right below it. Anytime there's a job quest, that should be priority number 1. So job quest always comes first, then main story quest comes second, right? And if you've done both of those things, then you can open up your duty finder. If you're interested in getting lots of XP and lots of gil and some Tombstone of Poetics, the duty finder is great. Come in here and you can do each of these one time. And it tells you which rewards you're going to get for doing that. So if we do the 50, 60, 70, and 80 dungeons, if we queue up for one of those, we will get massive XP, massive gil, and a ton of poetics. So this is a great way to advance your character's powers by doing your duty finder. Come in here and queue up for any of the stuff that you enjoy or do all of it for maximum benefit. Just be aware that down here at the bottom, the normal raids, you get significantly less rewards. So if you're looking to min-max your time, these ones give a lot less rewards. Only 2,700 experience versus up here, you've got 13,600. So you might want to prioritize the bigger rewards first if you've got a limited amount of time. And while we're talking about dungeons, if you're a new player and you're going through this game for the first time, the community is very, very excited for you. This community loves nothing more than to reminisce on how great the story of Final Fantasy XIV is with the new players that are coming through those parts of the game. We love to talk to you guys about it. We love to hear your thoughts on it and how excited you are about the twists and the turns that the story is going to take. And oftentimes when new players are doing dungeons with veterans, they feel compelled to skip the cutscenes as if they're wasting our time. And you're not. No veteran player expects you to skip your cutscenes that are playing as you enter dungeons or as you pull up to boss fights. Watch those, marinate in them, and enjoy them. Let them play all the way through. We don't care. We're more than happy to wait always. We made everyone wait for us when we were watching them for the first time, and you will have everyone wait for you. The game holds them in place. They can't run off and complete the dungeon without you or complete the boss fight without you. It's going to be fine. Just go ahead, watch your cutscene, enjoy it, and make sure you understand the story because that's one of the best parts of this game. Before we continue, if you're enjoying this video, be sure to like, subscribe, or comment for more MMO and RPG content. Thanks. Now let's talk about settings you should change. But first, if you're looking for something new to play, you've got to check out Luckcatchers 2, a multiplayer socio-economic MMO set in a vast open world of magic, dragons, and flying ships. This ain't no kids game. Designed for anyone over 16 and available on Steam. You'll be able to explore a massive world with tons of different territories while capturing and mining resources. You'll create and manage settlements, engage in trade, and enjoy the thrill of boarding ships and destroying caravans. If battling it out on ships, airships, and streklets in a world filled with fire-breathing dragons sounds fun, this is the game for you. So dive in, create your own character, choose your own skills, and explore the world alone or with friends. And don't forget to use code LGHOST to unlock free in-game items. So what are you waiting for? Play Luckcatchers 2 for free using my link in the description to download the game on Steam and explore the world at the edge of the Inside Out. Shout out to Luckcatchers 2 for sponsoring the channel. Thanks for listening, everyone. Now let's get back to the video. One of the first ones that you should absolutely change is you should come into your character configuration and change standard to legacy. So we're going to change this to legacy movement. And what this does, if it's standard and you walk forward, great. And then you walk backwards, so there's an AoE under you and you need to get out. Look at that. Your character's going to just walk backwards. You're dead, man. You're not getting out of that. You go to legacy, run forward. Okay, now you need to go backwards. Your character literally turns around and runs backwards. So legacy is just much easier for getting in and out of the, red on the floor, the things that are going to kill you. That's the one you want, legacy movement. Highly recommend switching over to that. The next section is going to be under item settings here, button right here. And you're going to probably want your inventory interface to open all. Normally when you open your bags, you get one little bag at a time, right? You got these little tiny tabs and you got to tab through it to find the items that are dropping. That's not a fun time to deal with. So better yet, you can come in here, switch this to open all, apply it. Now when we open our inventory, you can see every bag all at once. You can immediately see what items you have and don't have. This is very, very handy. Once you get into retainers, you can do the same thing for them. You can come in here and expand their inventory. The next tip is once you've seen a cutscene, every time you go through that dungeon, it's always going to prompt you to watch that cutscene. And if you have seen it and you don't want to see it anymore, you can come in here under control settings under the character configuration menu, and you can tell it that you want to skip cutscenes that you've previously viewed before, if that's something you're interested in doing. The next setting that's really useful for new and returning players is battle effects. So when you're in combat, especially once you start doing group content that has 8 people on your team, or 24 people on your team, the spell effects from some of the mages and stuff can get a little bit overwhelming. If you find that that's happening to you, where it's actually causing a problem for your visibility in the combat, or maybe it's killing your frames per second, right? Then you can come in here and you can reduce party, right? You can take them down to show limited, as well as others, show limited, PvP opponents, some, right? I wouldn't recommend showing none because sometimes there's beneficial effects and things like that you're going to want to see on the floor, and you might want to keep it at show limited so that you can continue to see those things. Okay, so under system configuration in the sound settings, there's a really popular option. It's going to say play music when mounted. This is one of those things where people either love it or hate it. So you will find that you fall into one of these two camps. You're going to get on your mount and the mount music is going to start playing and you're going to be like, heck yeah, I love this. Or you're going to get on your mount and the mount music is going to start playing and you're going to say, it interrupts my vibe every time. So if it does interrupt your vibe, or maybe you just don't really care for the music, but you love the mount, you can come in here and turn this off. And that way, when you jump on your mount, it doesn't interrupt the zone drone music that you were listening to a moment ago. Next, let's quickly go over one of the things that you may or may not be aware of with Final Fantasy XIV, and that is that players get banned in this game for being toxic. Unlike a lot of games where toxicity kind of goes unchecked, in Final Fantasy XIV, if you're toxic, if you tell someone they suck at the end of a dungeon, if you talk trash on them, if you insult their DPS, right, there's a very good chance that you're going to get either suspended or banned for being that type of a player. So don't get banned. Don't do those things. Also, another thing that could get you banned, you don't know, is using and then talking about using add-ons. So add-ons are technically against the terms of service for Final Fantasy XIV. They do not want you using add-ons, but most importantly, they don't want you talking about using add-ons. So if you're using a DPS meter to see how much damage you're doing and someone else is doing, you're not allowed to discuss that in game. You're not allowed to say, oh yeah, I'm doing big DPS, or oh man, you're doing crap DPS, right? Because then that's you admitting that one, you're using the add-on, and two, bringing their existence to light for the community. So if you do decide to use add-ons, make sure you're not talking about them in game, especially to the detriment of other players around you. This next tip is really important for both the DPS and for the healers. So after you die, after your character is killed, when you get rezzed, you get 5 seconds of immunity. If someone rezzes you, don't cast a weak heal on yourself and remove your damage immunity. Let someone throw a big heal on you. In this game, you know, fashion is end game, fashion is mid game, fashion is beginning game. We want to look good, right? When we get a really cool looking item, we want to equip it. When we get a really good item, we want to glamour it or transmog it if you're coming from a game that uses that term, right? And the way you do that is with glamour prisms. So you're going to need a lot of these things. My character here has 198 of them in this stack, right? I've got loads of them, and you will too, and you'll use loads of them. So what you want to do is you want to come to your respective Grand Company Quartermaster, talk to him, then you want to go to tier 2. That's this one right here, right? Let's make this window bigger for you guys. So you're going to come to tier 2, then you're going to go to the materials section, and right here, you've got glamour prisms for only 200 seals apiece, and you will have way more seals than you need, just because every time you get gear from a dungeon that you're not going to wear, every time you get gear that isn't going to be an upgrade for any of your jobs, you come here and you sell that, right? You come to the guy right next to him with all that gear you got from the dungeons and the raids and everything. You just come here and you undertake mission, and you go ahead and you sell all of the stuff that you picked up to him, and it's going to give you loads of seals. Look, almost 2,000 seals a pop per piece of gear, and you get loads of gear. So you'll come to that guy and get your glamour prisms under the material section right here. Glamour prisms. Another thing that's really good to buy if you have excess seals and you've got enough glamour prisms is to come to this first section right here at the top and buy ventures. You're going to need loads of these, trust me. So anytime you have excess seals and you don't need more prisms, buy ventures instead. You'll use them. And the reason that's important is because the game will cap you. You'll get to a point where you go to sell the gear and it'll say, you can't hold any more seals. You got to spend them on something. And that's when you'll come in here and you'll make those purchases. As soon as the game tells you, hey, you got too much, you need to sell stuff before you can get more seals. The next quick tip is Control U on PC. This opens up your timers menu. Make this nice and big again. This is going to tell you all the things that you can still do and when they reset. So for instance, the fashion report here says that I've got 4 hours and 4 minutes remaining. It tells us that we've got no ventures in progress, but if we had sent our NPCs out on ventures, this would tell us how long until that's over. And it tells us about our tribal dailies that we've got. We could be doing 9 more of those, right? This is a great place to come in here and see if there's any odds and ends that you can still do if you're looking for something kind of horizontal to participate in, as opposed to just pushing the main story quest. If you don't have access to a keyboard, it's right here under the duty menu in the bottom right and timers right there. The next one is, if you haven't yet, come into your actions and traits menu and make sure you put your limit break on your bar somewhere, right? It's going to be really important to have that there, and you're going to be expected to use it under various conditions. If you're a tank, you'll almost never use it, but there are certain trials where if the tank doesn't use it, the group wipes. So you'll know it when it happens. Your group will probably tell you beforehand. Otherwise, you'll all have a learning experience together. Otherwise, it's not your job to use it as the tank. Same thing for healer. There's very niche situations where you'll use it. Otherwise, you're not going to need to. 99% of the time, the limit break is going to be used by the DPS. In a general sense, here's how you choose who gets to use it. First of all, if any DPS uses it, it's fine. But if you're pulling a big group of mobs, you're going to want a magical DPS to use their limit break because they get a large circular AoE as their limit break. So if you've got a big group of mobs and you want to be able to hit multiple targets, have the mage do it. Also, a great candidate for that situation is having a ranged physical DPS do it. They get a long rectangle. All the ranged physical DPS get a long rectangular shaped limit break. So it can also hit multiple targets in a long rectangular line. Then finally, you have the melee limit break, the melee DPS. These these guys have a single target limit break, which makes them the best candidate for using it on boss fights because it's going to do the most damage to the boss if you're fighting a single target boss. So for trash pulls, magic DPS or range physical DPS. For bosses, melee DPS. That's the general rule of thumb to follow when trying to decide who should cast the limit break in that particular pull. At the end of the day, as long as the DPS is using it, everyone's going to be okay. And the last piece of advice is if you're tired of MMOs only getting good at the end game and only being good once you get to the end, you've come to the right MMO. Final Fantasy XIV is a slow burn. Take your time, enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. This is an MMO about enjoying the journey from the very beginning to the very end. Unlike a lot of MMOs where it's all about enjoying that last 5% because you feel like everything else is a waste of time. This is not one of those games, so don't rush to the last 5% and then let yourself enjoy the game. Enjoy 100% of the game by slowing down and enjoying it from the very beginning. As always, if you have any tips, if you're a veteran that watched through this, even though you already knew everything that I just said, hey, props to you. Thanks for watching. Also, if that's you, make sure to leave a tip down in the comments below, something about a mistake that you see new players making all the time, or just something you think would be generally helpful for them. And if you're a new player, make sure to check out those comments. A lot of times the best advice comes from veteran players, leaving tips in the comments below. And as always, a massive shout out to my channel members that you can see appearing on screen right now. If you want to become a member of my YouTube channel for special perks like behind the scenes footage, having your name appear at the end of these videos, and more, be sure to click the join button down below the video. Special shout out to legendary member Anna Marie. Thank you so much for the massive support. Really appreciate you. And massive thank you to the newest channel member, Kevin. Thank you so much for joining me and for your support. Appreciate it. If you're not sure what to do next, check out one of these other videos about Final Fantasy XIV. Whether it's the complete beginner guide where I go into every single detail possible that you could want to learn about this game, or 5 huge mistakes that you'll want to make sure that you avoid as a newer returning player. As always, I hope to see you in the next video, and I hope you have a fantastic day, night, or evening wherever you are. Until next time.